I'm glad to be back here today. I love that it was just a couple of weeks ago that I was here, because that makes me think maybe you'll remember what I talked about last time. We looked at the message of fear not that seems to permeate the life and ministry of Jesus. It's even a theme that predates him. If we remember that the angel said fear not before he was born. And today I would like to take us down another road, a detour, if you will, as we continue to glean insights from the stories around Jesus' birth. And the message today is based in another version of Jesus' birth from Matthew. And it's the story of the Magi in Matthew 2. In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem asking, "Where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? We observed his star at its rising and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. And they told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for so it has been written by the prophet." Then Herod secretly called for the wise men and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word, so that I may also go and pay him homage." When they heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star they had seen at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and knelt down and paid him homage. Then opening their treasure chests, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road. Quite some time ago, there was an insightful news anchor and radio storyteller named Paul Harvey, and I'd venture to say most of us, if not all of us in this room, remember him. He had a radio show that he wrote called The Rest of the Story, and it ran, I was shocked to see, it ran for 5 days a week for over 30 years. It was amazing. The show itself featured intriguing backstories and little-known facts about people and events in history. Some of the people in the stories were famous and some of them were infamous. But nonetheless, they were all artfully told by Paul Harvey. He liked to say that he explained the mysteries of history. He was also very skilled at drawing insights from old stories, and it was his goal that these insights could maybe help improve the future from the stories of the past. I can still hear how he ended his show, and now you know. And then a heavy pause, the rest of the story. The Magi today are also deeply insightful. The word magi comes from an old Persian word, ancient Persian word, that essentially means a practitioner of esoteric knowledge. Mm-hmm. The Magi were likely well studied in what is now would be two separate sciences, astrology and astronomy. They were all one science at that time. And perhaps, there have been speculations that they were Zoroastrian priests from Persia. Or maybe they were Jewish kings from Yemen. or perhaps Hellenistic scholars who had adapted the Greek sciences and the Greek studies and expanded on them. The truth is, we don't know. We don't know for sure that there were three. We don't know what the star was that they were following. Was it planets? Was it asteroid? But regardless of their origins and their fields of study, and in stark contrast to the shepherds we saw last time, the lowly shepherds, these guys are well educated. They are well respected and likely well to do. And it's quite possible, though, that Herod paid them royally to go find this child. Even while we have no evidence of their actual existence or any evidence of the events that took place in this story, by all counts, they represent the best of the best. They're kind of the creme de la creme, especially compared to the shepherds. They serve as powerful symbols of the humble acknowledgement of Jesus' presence and the very real truth that the message of grace and love and compassion is for all people, not just for those who are from a certain country or a certain religion or a certain culture or even a certain status. These magi and their entourage likely encountered Jesus as a toddler in the town, at home, whether in Jerusalem or Bethlehem, that's not even clear. But they deliver their treasures and then they prepare to depart. They were so joyful to find him, they were probably high-fiving each other. You know, we did it, we made it, we found him. But then that's where we get the rest of the story. And it's just a single sentence. We hear of yet another dream, another instruction from something beyond the person that's hearing it that shifts the directions they take and the directions of their lives around this story of Jesus' birth. The writer of the book of Matthew tells us that in this dream the Magi were instructed to bypass Herod and take a different way home. That's all we know. They'd likely already traveled maybe 60 days thereabout, assuming they had no problems along the way. And now they have to take a detour to avoid being interrogated by this king of Judea. Herod was so well known for his tyrannical cruelties to any and all who threatened his power. So much so that his own son, one of his sons, documented his tyrannies. So we know that it really did happen, that he was like that. It wouldn't have been out of character whatsoever for him to perceive that even a little child that could be king had to be stopped. But can you imagine what the detour meant to the Magi? They've already been gone a long time, and now they and all those who accompany them, their colleagues, maybe their servants, their family members, who knows, they have to chart a different course instead of the route that would take them directly home. It's not going to be the shortest route, and it's definitely going to take them out of their way and maybe out of safety's reach. Earlier this week, I heard a story of a couple who were caught by that surprise snowstorm that dumped 17 feet of snow in Lake Tahoe area Christmas weekend. After I wrote this, I thought, no, I think I misconstrued that in my head. Really, 17 feet? And I went back and researched, it's like 17 feet. And they both had to get home to San Francisco, but they knew their normal 4-hour route was out of the question because of all that snow. They were dusting the sides of the roads instead of scraping them. They were scraping them like this. So this couple ended up taking a 15-hour detour through Southern California to loop around the Sierra Mountains range. And I think that's kind of what these magi were being asked to do. That's really what I love about the song, Long Way Around the Sea, that I just played. It's based on the journeys of the Magi. I feel like I can feel the weight of their commitment and the weight of their travel, step by step. You can hear the plodding. Maybe they're traveling through unknown territory or unknown cultures. They're skilled at astronomy. They found their way to baby Jesus, and they'll find their way home. It's just that the detour that they've been asked to make is what my great-grandmother would call a fur piece. It's a long way, and where they had to travel, they might not have been highly regarded or respected. And so there would be unknown risk in an area that is known for its conflict at that time. But I want us to take a step back from their story so that we can gain our own insights and maybe, to use Paul Harvey's words, understand the mystery to this history and to improve our futures from this story of the past. I think I could safely say we've all experienced leadings from our own inner teacher. We've heard the small whispers of guidance that gently nudge us in a certain direction or to take a certain action. And at those times, maybe not, we've been obedient to those nudges. And then we've also likely had goals for our lives and dreams for which we want to chart our own course in life. We make our plans that will take us toward our dreams. I think of like buying a car or a house or moving to a new city, going to college or going back to college, or getting a new job or starting your own business are all kind of examples. In medicine, I have worked with couples who want to do everything they can so that they can have a child. And they plot out the steps that they have to take that will get them there. And sometimes it worked. Sometimes it didn't. And sometimes the results weren't what they expected when their child was born with physical or mental challenges. I think of Mary and Joseph. They were certainly pursuing a dream when they said they were going to be married. But they were handed a detour when the angel announced that Mary was pregnant. And that was a detour they took for the rest of their lives. And that's how I imagine the instructions of a detour felt to the Magi. They'd followed that star. They had found the baby that they believed might be born to be the King of the Jews. Remember, high fives and kudos for accomplishing that. But their work wasn't finished after achieving that goal. The last part wasn't going to be easy. And they may never have learned whether it was worth it or not. Before Christmas, we explored the persistent theme of fear not as part of Jesus' message and ministry. And throwing in the story of the Magi, begin to think that perhaps this theme of the ending may not be what you expected is also a persistent theme in Jesus' ministry and message. If you think about it, the ending is never what you expect. And the ending doesn't have to be a bad one. If you think about Grandma Moses, she probably did not foresee a successful career in art when she picked up a paintbrush at the age of 78. Not a bad thing to deal with, but it was a detour. There are times when we're following the Christ light in our lives, when we encounter the Christ light, that we may well be asked to take the long way home. It may turn out that there are deeper truths and bigger backstories than we could ever have anticipated. Even despite our best efforts, we may have no explanation of the mysteries in our own histories. There may be times that we never know. We may feel finished, but God isn't. And so in this day of exploring the detours of life, I hope that in some way you will know the rest of your story, but trust the detours. And so it is.